Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time once again for your weekly wrap-up. And the other day I bought the new iPhone Pro 12, and one of its new features, of course, is that it supports 5G, like most of the phones you're looking at these days do. And I wanted to tamp down expectations a bit about what 5G technology is all about. Verizon Wireless calls it the next industrial revolution. I think the reality is far more incremental. Let's get to it. Now, we're going to be picking on Verizon Wireless a little bit today because that's who my carrier is and who I've been struggling with over the last couple of days to get my phone working in 5G. What they've talked about in the past is calling this the fourth industrial revolution. They've also said that 5G will change everything. And I have no doubt these things are somewhat true, but they're not going to be the revolutionary change that they're making, because the reality here is that for most of us, 5G service might be more like good 4G and not quite the multi-gigabit speed we keep hearing about. And the reason is the technology and the physics and the money. And if you're in an area that is sparsely populated like where I am, it is very unlikely you're going to get the multi-gigabit 5G in your neighborhood. It's likely only going to be available when you visit a larger city. Now, 5G technology is not just a single thing. It's actually two different technologies being used in different ways. The one everyone's talking about is mmWave, otherwise known as ultra-wideband on the Verizon network. And it offers the promise of massive capacity, especially in stadiums and other places where you've got a lot of people in a densely packed area. Not happening a lot these days, but if you've ever been to a sporting event that's got a lot of people at it, you've probably noticed your phone not working all that well, even though you have a good signal. And that's because the network often gets overcapacity in tightly packed areas. This will resolve that to a degree. You get multi-gigabit speeds out of this technology, and we've been seeing a lot of folks posting their speed tests on these 5G networks, often getting a gigabit downstream on the street, on the sidewalk. It's pretty remarkable, but as you'll see, some of the upload speeds right now aren't that great, but it does offer the promise of multi-gigabit, provided they've got enough infrastructure out there. It's a high-frequency technology, which means that you get very short range, but a ton of bandwidth over the frequency when you're in range. And as a result, you need a lot of these towers installed every couple of 100 feet in order to get the best performance out of them. I think you can go maybe 1,000 feet or so between them, but the further you get away, the slower things get because those signals really don't travel very far. And a good analogy would be Wi-Fi technology. So if you've ever looked in your house, your 5 gigahertz signal doesn't go as far as the 2 gigahertz signal, even though the 5 gigahertz signal gets better bandwidth, and that's because it's a higher frequency. This is the same concept here, and you need a lot more cell towers up there in order to make it work effectively. It also doesn't work when you're inside and the cell tower is outside. So those frequencies, those signals, get blocked by walls and buildings and everything else. So the second you walk into your house, you don't get the speed you were getting on the sidewalk. It also requires a massive fiber infrastructure because you have to have fiber backhauling all of this data to the data centers where things get routed out. And there are some ways that they can use wireless technology to hop the signal back through the network, but somewhere you've got to have fiber close to where these things are to offer these multi-gigabit speeds. And as a result, you're not going to see all that much build out of this right away, if at all, especially in rural areas like we were talking about last week with Starlink. And if they're not running fiber for home internet right now, they're certainly not going to be running fiber for this technology either, given how many of these towers need to be installed for it to work properly. Now, this is what one of those towers looks like. This is in kind of a densely populated neighborhood. You can see all the equipment on there. Joanna Stern, who writes for the Wall Street Journal, put up a picture on Twitter the other day of the one that's in her neighborhood. I think she's in New York City somewhere, and you can see what it looks like there. Now, note the speed test that she got on this. Really good download speeds, about 1.3 gigabits per second. This is on Verizon's network. But the upload was only 12.7, and I asked her about that. I said, that seems kind of low. And she said that generally she's getting between 50 and 100. I do believe that the ultra-wideband can support faster uploads, but as usual, the ISPs are focused almost primarily on downstream speeds and really pushing that as the narrative. And I don't know what kind of technical limitations are in place, but it's just odd to me that we're not seeing a symmetrical back and forth here. And it could actually just be how the radio frequencies are allocated as well. We'll have to dig into that, and I'm sure some of you watching may have some thoughts on it as well. You can see here, it's kind of ugly, and this is going to be, I think, a regulatory roadblock because people may not want this stuff in their neighborhood. You got all these boxes hanging off of it. You got this big cylinder at the top. The reality, I think, for many people will be something mounted on top of a utility pole, but still, it's going to add some perhaps ugliness to the neighborhood, and people may not like that, and they might go to their local zoning boards complaining about these things getting installed everywhere. So there's going to be a lot of hurdles, both technologically, politically, and everything else you can imagine, including cost, to roll out this ultra-wideband network. So what does that mean? Well, it means that this is probably going to be the least likely way you get on a 5G network. The most likely way is going to be on a technology called sub-6. Now, sub-6 is short for sub-6 gigahertz. It is a much lower frequency technology versus ultra-wideband, and in many cases, carriers will be using the existing 4G spectrum to transport this sub-6 5G signal. And that, of course, means that you will be able to use it inside, which is, of course, a real benefit if you want to answer your phone when you're not out on the sidewalk, so that's good. There are fewer cell sites required because lower frequencies travel further, so that's helpful. You don't have to put these things all over the place and fight with the zoning board. You can just change out the antennas that are on your existing cell towers. But because it operates at a lower frequency, you're going to have less bandwidth available. There's just more spectrum available on the ultra-wide mmWave technology, which allows for those gigabit speeds. You're not going to see them here with sub-6. Again, it's going to be more like good 4G. But the big difference here is expanded capacity versus LTE. It's going to be implementing a massive MIMO tech to better direct signals to phones, and as a result, they can make more efficient use of the spectrum that they're assigned by the Federal Communications Commission and be able to serve more customers at once. It's great for the carriers, but it's also good for a customer because that means your phone will be more reliable even when there might be a few more people on your tower. It won't be, again, as good as the mmWave from a capacity standpoint, but it should be much better than LTE. And again, sub-6 is what most of us are going to be experiencing. Now, since we're picking on Verizon, let's take a look at the current rollout of their 5G technology. Now, you look at this and say, wow, Verizon's really making some progress. There's a lot of red splotches on the map indicating that there's 5G nationwide service. Now, it's important, though, to connect the marketing vernacular to the actual technology. So in Verizon's terminology, nationwide 5G is actually sub-6, which is much easier for them to implement. And as a result, they're able to roll that out a lot quicker. Now, the customer experience in those 5G nationwide areas is not going to be all that much better than what they currently have with their 4G technology, but it will perhaps allow for more capacity on those towers. There might be more reliability for the customer. Things will be better, but not a fourth industrial revolution. So let's take a look at the ultra-wideband rollout and see how that's going. And as you can see in my state of Connecticut, this is the extent of ultra-wideband right now. Just a few streets here in Hartford, and not all of them are even connected here. So you can see this one area right here. It looks like they're missing a tower right in this spot. So you're not getting any service there. And then if you're on one of the side streets, too bad. And I'm sure they will continue building this out, but you can see just how difficult the ultra-wideband 5G is going to be to implement. And when they're talking about how they've got their nationwide 5G network in place now, the reality is for most customers, it's not going to feel all that different from what they're currently using on 4G. And that's not a bad thing, but it's important to know there's a very big difference between what you're going to get out of this multi-gigabit ultra-wideband and the sub-6 stuff that won't be much better than what experiences currently are. Now, where I am in Connecticut, in this area somewhere, you can see we are starting to get some 5G nationwide in my neck of the woods. And I was eager to go try this out, but unfortunately, I bought an unlocked iPhone 12 Pro, and I got a message from Verizon on my text messaging thing here to tell me that I have to go get a 5G SIM card. That card is on the way, so once I get the card, I'm going to get back in the car, drive out to those areas and see if I can test the 5G nationwide network and see how it looks compared to my existing 4G one. Now, I did try to activate the eSIM inside of the iPhone Pro, and it did not activate. I spent about 2 hours on the phone with Verizon support trying to get that to work, and they just gave up and said, here, we'll just send you a card. So if you have a new iPhone Pro 12, get the SIM card. Otherwise, you're going to have some trouble, I think, on Verizon. Now, my current 4G service on the other side of town is really good. So check this out. This is the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot where I used to sit to upload when my cable modem was so bad. And as you can see here, we're getting about 73 downstream, and sometimes we hit 50 on the upstream. This was taken with the iPhone Pro 12 the other day. Really good stuff. That tower has always been good. When 4G was first implemented in my area back in 2013, you can see what I was getting on my iPhone 5S. I am a digital pack rat. I hold all this stuff for future conversations. And you can see that 4G has been really good all these years. And if we can increase capacity and get more people on at the same time and still maintain good levels of speed, that will be great. But it's important to note that if you've got bad 4G now, it may not look all that much better when they convert over to 5G. So as great as the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot is for me, this is what I get in my backyard. Not very good at all, and I don't expect this to improve at all unless they stick some new tower out near my house, and the likelihood of that is very, very low. Now, this week's wrap-up is being brought to you by all of you. We had a couple of super chatters on our live stream the other day. They include Toys R for Boys and Joshua Cardona. We also have some new supporters from Floatplane that I got the names for last week. You can see them all here. Dev Funk D, Tom FT Tech, Draco824, Cold Guy, Henry H. Lay, Chris Gallagher, Zamthor, Excel Nerd, and Signosis7. This is not all of the new Floatplane people. We got a few more the other day. Floatplane is a video platform that was created by the Linus Tech Tips guys because they wanted to have a safe place to store all of their content should one of their platforms go kaput. So now they have their own, and I was very grateful to be invited onto it. So you can find me there now. And as I get more names, I will share them with all of you and add to the end credits. We also have some new supporters this week. Jim Peter made a gold level contribution. Thank you very much for that. We also have Larnie Lewis, who contributed via the YouTube membership program, Stefan Brunello, who contributed via the donor box page, and Robert Wallace, who joined via Patreon. Now, I wanted to give an update on the status of the end credit rolls because we haven't updated them in about a month and a half, 2 months or so. I'm going to update them once we roll over to November. It's been taking a longer time to compile them because I have so many different sources of support now, and I have to get all the data in line and remove duplicates and everything else. So I'm going to have Jake or James, who helped me here on the channel, start assisting in that effort so we can update the credit rolls more frequently. I feel bad that I haven't done an update in a little while, and that's not fair to the supporters, but we will get that done shortly, and I'll try to distribute that work out a little bit more so we can get a smoother workflow in the future. So thank you all for your patience there, and that credit roll will be updated hopefully by the first week of November. Now, if you want to support the channel, you can. You can go to Lon.TV/support and make a monthly or a one-time contribution via our donor box page. We also, of course, support the YouTube membership program, and if you contribute that way, you get a cool badge next to your name whenever you chat with us or do any kind of commenting. And then, of course, we also have the Floatplane option too. Now, this week on the channel, we had 4 live streams. I was working on a bunch of stuff, and I invited you in to watch me work on those things. So we unboxed the new iPhone. We were testing multiple devices with the new 3D Mark multi-platform wildlife benchmark. We looked at the new Oculus Quest 2, and we unboxed that kitchen TV that we reviewed this week. On the Extras channel, I pulled 2 things out of the live streams, the unboxing of the iPhone Pro 12 and the Oculus Quest 2, and put them up on the Extras channel to gauge interest, and that was helpful to see what we should do this week. And then on the main channel, we looked at the Crucial X6 portable SSD. This is a lower end SSD that was a better value in its 2 terabyte capacity versus the 1. We also looked at a rather odd device from Philips, their kitchen Android TV. And I know how much you all love Android TV devices, so whenever I see one weird one like this, I like to get them, especially from a major brand. It wasn't a very good kitchen device, nor was it a very good assistant, but it might have some value to somebody, but you can check out the review and make your own judgment on that. And we also looked at the Acer Spin 5 with a 3.2 display. This was one of the Prime Day specials that they sent in for that week, and I reviewed it as well. It's going back to them today. And it's a neat little device, and of course the day my review came out, they announced a new version with updated Intel processors, and that's how it usually goes here. But that's not coming out till February, so you might be able to get a good deal on this one before it runs out of stock. Now this week on the channel I have high ambitions because the things I'm looking at reviewing require a lot of time to evaluate. The first is the Oculus Quest 2, which I like a lot already. It is much more comfortable to me than the Quest 1. And I've got a long list of B-roll to record for this, so you might see me pop up live playing around with that in the next couple of days. I also want to get my iPhone Pro 12 review done. I've been really doing a lot with this, just trying to figure out what the differences are. And there are some big ones beyond the 5G. The big one I can see right now is video quality. The HDR video recording is pretty remarkable on the phone, even though there's not that many places you can actually watch that video beyond the phone screen. It still looks great, so we'll talk more about that when we have the Pro review up a little later this week. And not to be too heavily weighted on Apple, I also want to give my impressions of the Apple Watch 6. And this is going to be more of an overview of how I'm using the watch. This is a funny product because I had bought one back in 2015 with the intention of reviewing it and then selling it like I do all the other stuff here on the channel that I review. And I ended up not getting rid of it, and I haven't taken an Apple Watch off my wrist for 5 years after that. I really do like this product a lot. I like all the data it collects about my health throughout the day, and it's getting more and more advanced as each iteration comes out. I tend not to upgrade every year. I wait until there's a new sensor or something that is a good reason to make that upgrade. And of course, this year they added the pulse ox sensor, which has been improving as they've been updating the firmware over the last couple of weeks. And we'll go into more detail about that watch a little later in the week, hopefully. Now, if you like what I do and want to get notified every time I upload something to the channel, you can click on the bell, and that will send notifications directly to you across many different methods. We also have other channels you can find me on, including Floatplane, and then also my Amazon page. And I would really appreciate everyone going over to the Amazon page and clicking the follow button. We're doing a lot of live streaming on Amazon at the same time we do it on YouTube. And I'm going to be getting opportunities to offer deals that you might want to take advantage of during the live stream. So be on the lookout for that. I think we've got one coming up next month, actually. So sign up there, and I'll give you more details on the email list, which you can sign up for at Lon.TV/email. By the way, we did one of those Amazon streams a few weeks ago with Wise products, and I think a lot of you got in on that. So we'll be continuing doing those, and then, of course, making sure they're not home shopping club experiences, but more value add, so it'll be fun. We also have the Facebook group at Lon.TV/Facebook group, and we also have my store at Lon.TV/store, where I sell all of that used stuff when I'm done with it, and boy, do I have a pile I've got to go through. So once I get caught up on videos, my intention is to get caught up on the credit rolls and then get rid of all the stuff that's been sitting here, including that TV, an iPad, a whole bunch of other stuff. So sign up on the email list here. You'll get notified the minute that stuff gets up on the store, and you will know when you can get at it, and I will ship it to you very quickly to get it out of this basement because I get more and more stuff in and I'm running out of room. And that's going to do it for this week's weekly wrap-up. I just got a notification telling me my new SIM card is on the other end of town at my dad's house. Even though I told them to deliver it here, they sent it to his place for some reason, so I got to go over there and get that card installed and activated. The good news is that he's in one of those 5G areas, so we'll see exactly how well this new network performs. And I will give you that update when we do the iPhone 12 review a little later this week. So more to come. Thank you again for your ongoing support. Please keep those suggestions coming down in the comment stream, and I will see you very, very soon. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters Tom Albrecht, Chris Allegretta, Mike Patterson, and Bill Pomerantz. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.